Part 56. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 555. There is no money involved in playing cards. Winning a small amount of money is no fun, but winning a big amount is considered gambling. So they were playing bullets, and Nuan lost more than 20 people inside and outside, all of them to Yan Qingqing. Every point on his forehead was hurt when he frowned. After winning this time, Nuan calculated carefully. Decided to use fists to replace 20 brainless children. Yan Qingqing agreed. Then Han Qian saw a scene. Xiao Baibei was waving his arms in Han Qian's arms. Han Qian quickly hugged her and turned around. He couldn't watch anymore. Xiao Baibei was led astray as he continued to watch. At the same time, he also warned several girls to have fun. After Han Qian finished speaking, Ji Jing came over again and seemed to have the courage to help Han Qian take care of Xiao Baibei. Xiao Baibei looked at Ji Jing and seemed to want to go there. Regarding the aunt, it was a pity that Han Qian refused. Just stay alone, you don't know how to take care of children. Ji Jing didn't insist. Han Qian smiled. Why don't you play in there anymore? Ji Jing suddenly sat on the chair like a frustrated rubber ball and said resentfully. I don't fit in with others, I don't want to touch them. As soon as he finished speaking, the voice of a nursery rhyme came, calling Ji Jing to go back and continue playing. This time he played Truth or Dare, which was particularly exciting. He asked Ji Jing and Han Qian what the intimate contact was. Does kissing count? Nursery rhyme never expected that Ji Jing would say it without hesitation. Everyone in the room was stunned. Ji Jing leaned against the door and smiled. When you're drunk. Then Yu Shixi gritted his teeth and asked. Then what? Ji Jing narrowed her eyes and smiled. Then he. This evil smile made people think a lot, and Han Qian hugged Xiao Baibei and fled the room immediately. Something is wrong with Aunt Ji. It's not that there's anything wrong with what Aunt Ji did, it's just a feeling. Something doesn't feel right. In fact, Ji Jing doesn't have any other thoughts. She just feels uncomfortable just watching nursery rhymes and bullying Han Qian. The more you bully Han Qian, the more uncomfortable I will make you. Carrying the child downstairs, looking at Yang Lan and Lu Zhuolong sitting by the window drinking coffee with Yates, Han Qian stepped forward and placed Xiao Baibei on the tea table and sat down, not forgetting to spread the blanket. Below, Yang Lan glared at Han Qian when he saw this, and stretched out his hand to take Xiao Baibei away. Xiao Baibei seemed unwilling and dodged his mother's arms left and right. Suddenly, Han Qian stretched out his hand to hold Xiao Baibei and said calmly. Sister Yang, what are you doing? My niece can sit wherever she wants. She is not an outsider here. Baibei's name is Aunt Yet. Xiao Baibei grabbed two of Han Qian's fingers and called her aunt in a low voice. Yates narrowed his eyes and smiled. I have long heard that Manager Yang has a very cute daughter. Today is the first time to see her up close. Han Qian chuckled. Isn't my niece cute? Yates nodded and smiled. It's just that your niece is cute, but the other one is a bit of a headache. Little toucan. This girl Han Qian also had a headache and would always do something unexpected. Han Qian asked for a bottle of milk and gave it to Baibei, and then said. Yates, do you regret leaving Lushenga? Yates shook his head slightly. My regrets disappeared a few years ago. I lost some resources when I left Donglu, and what I got in exchange was freedom and self. There is no regret at all. It's just a trade of equal profit. Maybe Lushenga will I regret losing my assistant, but I don't regret finding a new supporter. Han Qian chuckled. Am I reliable? I'm thinking about letting you join the Glory Group. Mr. Yan has a secretary and is short of an assistant. Isn't this a sudden idea that Master Han had? He had already thought of how to use me when he asked Wu Siquan to rescue me. It's not about using me, I just think that someone should appear in a certain position. Lushenga is disgusting with me now. I don't mind disgusting him once. He told me that he wanted to give me a woman. I don't think I need it anymore. You very good. Who am I going to deal with? It's not necessary. I will ask Qinghu to use this person's connections to help Sister Yang solve the trouble. I just feel that Yan Qingqing really lacks an assistant. Salary: 300 years. I'm not worth that much money. If I say you're worth it, you're worth it? I don't like people questioning my decision. So Mr. Han, you are indeed too conceited and too impulsive. No, 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 that's not self-confidence. I'm just mentally ill. Of course, if I wasn't ill, I wouldn't be where I am today. As soon as he finished speaking, Han Qian picked up Xiao Baibei and pampered him affectionately. Let's go, my little baby. As soon as he left, leaving Yates with a helpless smile, Yang Lan picked up the coffee and said softly, "Do you feel that he is a bit strong, even stronger than Lushenga?" Yates nodded with a wry smile again and said with a smile, "Yes. Lushenga is a suspicious person. If someone puts forward an opinion on some things, he will not accept or reject it on the spot. He will think about it after he goes back. I didn't see his kindness from young Master Han. I can even see a little bit of his words to me. It means disdain." Yang Lan also smiled, put down the coffee cup and stretched. "Curvy and slim. Haha, but he won't let others take responsibility for his failure, let alone he has never failed before. My younger brother is good at everything, but he has two fatal flaws." Yates narrowed his eyes and said softly, "Impulsive and conceited. No, no, no. I have too much sense of responsibility and I am too kind." Yates did not nod, but stood up, smiled, and turned to leave. Yang Lan looked at Yates's leaving figure and whispered again, "Deputy Lu. Arrive. You stepped on my foot." Lu Zhulong stood up hurriedly. Yang Lan looked at Lu Zhulong with narrowed eyes and smiled. "Deputy Lu, aren't you tired?" Lu Zhulong shook his head seriously and said seriously, "Not tired. It's fruitless." "I know. It's good to know." Looking at Yang Ian's graceful back, Lu Zhulong whispered, "I do, but you care about me." Yang Lan suddenly turned around, and Lu Zhulong spoke quickly. "Lan Lan, walk slower." The hopeless Lu Zhulong really didn't know why he persisted. The city bureau received a case. Li Jinhai felt a headache when the case came into his hands. Without thinking, he sent it to Cheng Jin at the gate of the city government office. Cheng Jin frowned when he saw the two words "avoid suspicion" written on the file bag. Frowned. He didn't want to open it. Then I received a text message from Li Jinhai, saying that if he didn't care, Li Jinhai would resign. In desperation, Cheng Jin opened the file bag and found more than a dozen pieces of paper accusing Han Qian and Suliang of their crimes. Attached were many screenshots of surveillance and an SD card. Cheng Jin handed the card to Changde. Soon after, Han Qian appeared on the computer. The scene where Qian and Suliang violently assaulted Tang Wei. Changde closed his eyes and said helplessly, "Mayor Chang, what should we do?" Seeing Han Qian, a little bastard, hit someone's hand with a fire extinguisher, Cheng Jin was so angry that his lips trembled and he replied in a low voice, "Business matters. Mediate first, then file the case. Bring this little bastard to me first." I'm afraid not, he's gone on a trip." Cheng Jin slapped the case and stood up. At this time, Changde said again, "Calm down, this Tang Wei sounds a bit familiar to me. The court seems to have received a case recently. Xiahua called him specifically. You know the two people involved in the case?" "Who?" "This Tang Wei and Yang Lan, the manager of the Honor General Department, are husband and wife. Yang Lan filed a divorce lawsuit and is now in the mediation stage. Xiaohu called me and asked me to report it and help Yang Lan get divorced. I think these two cases should have a big connection. Why don't you wait? Cheng Jing closed his eyes and sighed. It's not up to us. As soon as Tang Wei's disability assessment was sent to the procuratorate, Han Qian and Su Liang were charged with intentional injury, and the circumstances were serious. Look at what it says here. Han Qian said it's useless to go to any Yamen gate, there's nothing anyone can do to get him. Look at this. I'm going to make a phone call. I'll talk about it when I get back. Don't let the person named Niu know. I'm afraid it's too late. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 556. The rain showed no sign of stopping. Han Qian hugged Xiao Baibei, glanced at Cai Qinghu and Qianwan, and shrugged. Are you two small boats going to be submarines? The chassis of the R8 and McLaren were too low. Cai Qinghu stretched himself, yawned, turned around and walked away, talking as he walked. I'll go back to the hotel and take a nap. When the rain stops, I'll go back to the city. Have a nice journey. Qianwan sighed helplessly. Then I'll wait until the rain stops before leaving. The two of them had nothing serious to do when they went back. Han Qian didn't say anything. Nuan got into Jijing's car and everyone returned to the city. Everyone seemed tired along the way, and half of them fell asleep sitting on the chairs. The car stopped at the main entrance of the company. Everyone woke up and got out of the car one after another. Yao Shui yawned and said that she would go home to catch up on her sleep and come to work tomorrow. Others had the same meaning. Han Qian called Jijing before getting out of the car. He picked up the phone and told her to send Yang Lan and Nuan home first. When Han Qian got out of the car, Yan Qingqing held Han Qian's hand. Han Qian turned to look at Yan Qingqing and found that her eyes were fixed on several people walking in the distance. Lu Shenga? Tang Wei? This guy's arms and head were wrapped with bandages. Han Qian knew clearly how serious Tang Wei's injuries were, and how hard he applied it. The fingers on his right hand should be broken, and his head should be concussed with a little skin. Trauma, as for being tied up like a mummy. At this time, Su Liang also got off the station and stood beside Han Qian. Several people approached, and Tang Wei pointed at Han Qian and Su Liang and gritted his teeth angrily. It's just the two of them. As soon as he finished speaking, two men in suits behind him stepped forward, took out a document and handed it to Han Qian, and then said, Mr. Han, Mr. Su, you two are involved in the crime of intentional injury, beating others to second-degree disability, please cooperate with our investigation. Yan Qingqing frowned after hearing this. When she was about to speak, Han Qian stopped her and laughed softly. From the procuratorate? What does the city bureau mean? Secretary Niu takes this matter very seriously. Okay, where's the car? This way please. They did not dare to be too forceful towards Han Qian and did not put handcuffs on Han Qian. After Han Qian and Su Liang were taken away, Tang Wei looked at their backs and smiled ferociously. Let's see how you can protect this bitch Yang Lan. When he turned his head, a small figure appeared in front of him. Tang Wei frowned and said in confusion. What's wrong with you? Tu Kun raised his head and looked at the mummy like Tang Wei, with angry eyes and said coldly. You called the police to arrest my uncle? Do you want to touch Aunt Yang? I advise you to withdraw the lawsuit and get out of the city. Tang Wei didn't take this little girl seriously and said coldly. Your uncle? Han Qian? Sure enough, the upper beam is not straight and the lower beam is crooked. Xiao Tukan laughed and sneered. Oh, you said my upper beam is not straight and my lower beam is crooked. There is. Manager Tang. Lu Shenga suddenly scolded Tang Wei, then bent down and stretched out his hand to pinch Tu Kun's face, smiling. Han Qian beat someone. We just went through the formal channels. Miss Tu should just go back and wait for the result quietly. Snapped. Tukon opened Lushenga's claws with a slap and sneered. The upper beam is not straight and the lower beam is crooked? Are you trying to touch Aunt Yang Lan? Are you scolding me? Lushenga smiled again. Manager Tang doesn't know Miss Tuesday. I humming need him to know me. After finishing speaking, little Tukon took out his cell phone and started dialing. Yan Qingqing stepped forward and grabbed Tukon's wrist, saying anxiously. Xiao Tukan, what are you doing? Tukon shook off Yan Qingqing's hand and said angrily in a low voice. Coder. After the words fell, the phone was connected, and Xiao Tukan cried into the phone. Dad. Someone scolded me for not having the upper beam straight and the lower beam crooked. Are you my biological father? Lushenga's expression changed. Tu Xiao heard his daughter roaring on the phone. No one humming runs away. Something seems to have happened. Tu Xiao was furious when he heard his daughter crying on the phone, got up and walked out of the office with a roar. BioZ, code people, and go to glory. In just 5 minutes, the convoys of Wuling Hongguang and Honda at Sai quickly left the 8th area. At the front of the convoy was a Hutaben. In front of the main entrance of Glory Group, Lushenga asked Tang Wei to be taken away. He wanted to stay and comfort Tukon's daughter. If Tu Xiao was making noise here, Lushenga would not be afraid at all. He was just a local ruffian, but Tukon, if his daughter was wronged here, Lushenga would be really afraid. Who doesn't know that this old bastard, Tu Xiao, is famous for caring about his daughter? If you point at Tu Xiao's nose and scold her, he might just laugh and let the matter go. But if you touch a hair on his daughter's body, then this matter will that's big. Wei Tiancheng and Tu Xiao have been fighting for most of their lives. How dare he touch Tu Xiao's daughter? Or is it that someone in the city dares to touch Tu Xiao's daughter? The reverse scale of the dragon, whoever touches it will die. Lushenga began to curse Tang Wei in his heart. After scolding Bai, was he stupid in prison? Don't you think how many people with the surname Tu in the city dare to do this? On the other side, Han Qian was sent to the procuratorate. He did not see any leader. Instead, 2 people were asked to take them to the city government office. When he was handcuffed, Han Qian frowned and said Suliang winked. The 2 of them felt that something was wrong. Not long after leaving the procuratorate, the 2 of them were hooded. With the inertia of the car turning and the sounds coming from outside the car, Han Qian felt that this road did not lead to the Yamen gate. When the 2 got out of the car, Han Qian narrowed his eyes, and Suliang's expression became very gloomy. Detention center. Ah! Han Qian sneered. Lushenga really has 2 skills. Will I be locked up with Go De Peo next? Master Han, don't embarrass us, we are just paid workers. Then you go tell Cheng Jin. Will do. Han Qian was not sent to Go De Peo's cell, but Suliang was imprisoned. When Han Qian walked into the cell and saw the man sitting inside reading a book with his eyes open, he smiled. Haven't seen you for a long time. The man was slightly startled when he raised his head and saw Han Qian, then smiled. It's been a long time indeed. Brother Len was arrested? No. I haven't moved my muscles for a long time. How about some exercise? I'm trying to get a reduced sentence. What if some people just want you to hit me? I brought my mobile phone. If you remember the number, I can let you make a call, as long as no information is exposed. Toad stood up and stretched his muscles. The next second, he rushed up and punched Han Qian in the lower abdomen. The severe pain made Han Qian bend down and almost spit out his bile, and he gritted his teeth and said angrily. I'm going to hum your grandma, just do whatever you want. Sorry. Han Qian was sent to prison because someone must have done it deliberately. This person might be Niu Qiudong, or someone might want to blame Niu Qiudong. Han Qian was not in a hurry, he would just take him out as he was thrown in. On the other side, Suliang's life was not easy. He and Go Depeo were locked in a cell, and there were only two of them. Go Depeo smiled evilly when he saw Suliang. "Son thief! I didn't expect to see you here again." Suliang took off his vest and shook his head. "What a waste of words. Go Depeo has no hope of leaving prison in his life. He doesn't care how long he will be detained or how big the crime is." The employees of Glory Group were working cautiously, and no one was without panic. Yan Qingqing stood in front of the office window and looked at the scene downstairs. She really didn't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing. Hundreds of black umbrellas stood in the heavy rain. Tu Xiao was dressed in a tang suit, with a wicker chair under his butt. The biggest loser, Guan Yunbiao, stood beside his master holding a white umbrella. The handle of the short knife at his waist was exposed. Tu Xiao said calmly while holding a cigar in his mouth. After a while, Tang Wei came out and hacked him to death with a knife of 100,000 yuan. The 1 million that was hacked to death plus my Mercedes-Benz. My wife will arrange a job, and the children will go to key schools. I, Tu Xiao, will take care of my parents in old age, Biozi. Give her to the children, call her aunt and tell her that this matter has nothing to do with her." Guan Yunbiao bent down slightly and said softly. "Master, Mr. Yan called and said that he will not get involved in this matter. He just hopes that we will not hurt innocent people." Tu Xiao waved his hand. "Go, take a few people in and arrest the man named Tang Wei. Anyone who stops him will be killed. Xiao Biao, go right away." Guan Yunbiao handed the umbrella to the female assistant next to Tu Xiao, and then led a few people into Glory. Glory's security captain led the people forward, whispered a few words and then let them go. Guan Degu said something. "Han Qian and I are brothers. The rain is too heavy. I'll take people to the underground garage to have a look." Lu Shenga frowned and paced in the office, his face as gloomy as a pool of stagnant water. He glanced at the scene downstairs and turned to roar at Tang Wei. "You don't think it's enough trouble for you? What are you doing to provoke that little brat from the Tu family? Today, Tu Xiao will cut off your tongue even if he doesn't want your life. How the hell do you want me to protect you?" Tang Wei sat on the sofa without saying a word. With his status, he could not touch the affairs between several big bosses. Lu Shenga had no choice but to call Wei Tiancheng. "Director Wei, there is a chance that we can kill Tu Xiao." There was silence on the phone for a long time, and laughter came out. "Don't you know, Mr. Lu, that Mr. Han and I are considered brothers?" Lu Shenga hung up the phone directly and then dialed a number again. "Hello. I am Lu Shenga, chairman of Honor Group. I want to call the police. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 557. At 6 o'clock in the evening, the heavy rain was still pouring down, and the water at the front entrance of Glory was already up to his ankles. Tu Xiao looked down at his cloth shoe soaked in the water, and smiled lightly. "Xiao Kui, call the finance department." "Yes." Tu Xiao didn't need to say anything. The woman who had loved Tu Xiao for 8 years took out her mobile phone and notified the finance department to distribute the rewards to the brothers. She is 30 years old this year and has been with Tu Xiao for 8 years. She has slept with him countless times, but she has always been a secretary. She has never asked for sex, which is good. The off-duty clerks looked at the hundreds of men in black in the square outside the main entrance and were afraid to pick up their cars. Yan Qingqing never appeared. The first person to walk out of the crowd was Gao Xing. He walked down the steps in front of Tu Xiao despite the rain. "Boss Tu, let the company's employees leave first. I will be your hostage here. I won't leave until you see Tang Wei." Tu Xiao said oh and then said. Vice President Gao should be busy, I'm not looking for you. Gao Jishi was struggling in his heart, and finally he chose to stand next to Tu Xiao. Xiaoqui nodded to the people around him, and a younger brother stood next to Vice President Gao holding an umbrella. Gao Jishi said thank you, and Tu Xiao replied with 3 words. No need. 6:10. The street police and the city bureau's brigade arrived late. When Li Jinhai got out of the car and saw Tu Xiao sitting on a wicker chair, he suddenly had a headache. The last time he saw Tu Xiao putting on such a fight was when Han Qian was left by Feng Lun. When I was in the hotel, it was 10 years ago. The police officers at the Yamenmen were armed with anti-riot shields and batons, ready for battle at any time. The boys in District 8 are well trained. Everyone has their hands hidden behind their waists. They don't look at the police and only listen to the boss's orders. There are 200 younger brothers. Tu Xiao can clearly tell their names and ages. Each of them has been helped by the boss to a greater or lesser extent, including household registration work, houses and cars, children going to school, and funerals for the elderly. Several major events in life are handled by the boss. If today was just a land grab, they would feel like quitting when faced with the police, but today someone insulted the eldest lady. A cute, kind, and sensible young lady. Which one has never been called uncle by a young lady? Which one has not been teased by the eldest lady? As long as there are children in school, there is no one who has no protection from the eldest lady. Don't say it's a police officer, the King of Heaven is here today. If the master says he won't retreat, then he won't retreat. Jianghu people have the morality of Jianghu people, which may be rare in this society, but it cannot be said that it does not exist. Tu Xiao can become the local emperor of the 8th district. How can he do it without the loyalty of his younger brother? Li Jinhai stepped forward with an umbrella, took out a cigarette and handed it to Tu Xiao. Tu Xiao did not refuse, but took it and put it in his mouth. Xiaoqui took out a lighter and lit the cigarette. Li Jinhai said softly. Tu Xiao, why are you so crazy? Tu Xiao turned his head to look at Li Jinhai and smiled. Jinhai, we have been dealing with each other for decades. Let me ask you, what do you think when someone scolds your Li Duoli for saying that the upper beam is not straight and the lower beam is crooked? My daughter has no mother, and she has never read a book. That's bullshit. Dad who doesn't understand, it's my father's fault that I didn't educate my children well, but it's not my daughter's turn to be Tu Xiao. A little shriveled Sanner pointed at the tip of her nose and scolded the upper beam was crooked and the lower beam was crooked. Lushenga wanted to pinch my daughter. His face? He's so barren that I don't mind chopping off one of his arms. Li Jinhai closed his eyes and sighed, speaking softly. I know you are angry now. I came here today to mediate this matter. You don't need to mediate. If someone hacks me to death, I'll surrender, and if they cripple me, I'll pay you. I, Tu Xiao, will bear all the charges. If I, Tu Xiao, die here today, I won't let others bully my daughter. If you want to arrest me, Jinhai, I'm waiting. Wait. Li Jinhai closed his eyes and sighed, thinking softly for a long time. Where's Han Qian? He was taken away by people from your Yamenmen. Are you asking me now? I have dealt with my daughter's affairs and now I am going to deal with my little brother's affairs. Tu Xiao, don't force me to put you in jail. Please. After saying this, Tu Xiao stood up and walked towards Li Jinhai, grabbed the handcuffs from his waist and cuffed his hands. After such an action, Li Jinhai heard the sound of sharp blades sliding out of their sheaths from the dense crowd behind Tu Xiao. Sound. Li Jinhai didn't dare to arrest Tu Xiao. He dares. But what happens after Tu Xiao is captured? District 8 will soon be in chaos, followed by a fight over territory. Pick a quarrel? This is a bit broad. Gao Xing, who had been silent until now, opened his mouth. Director Li, Boss Tu's company has business dealings with our honor. Boss Tu's visit today was something I discussed with Mr. Yan. Li Jinhai waved his hands and said angrily. Don't tell me these useless things. I know better than you what Tu Xiao is thinking. I also called and asked, because that guy named Tang Wei, right? Bring him out. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a scream from the front door of Glory. Guan Yunbiao held a knife in his left hand and held Tang Wei, who was begging, with his right hand as he walked down the steps. Li Jinhai frowned when he saw this. At this time, a young police officer could not bear the pressure and took out his weapon. Gun, rushed forward and pointed it at Tu Xiao. Tu Xiao? Ask your people to let him go. Tu Xiao didn't even look at the police officer. The next second someone was standing in front of the gun. It was Tu Xiao's female secretary Xiao Kui. Li Jinhai took a deep breath and raised his hand to hold down the police officer's gun. Xia Kui stepped aside. Tu Xiao turned his head and looked at the young catcher, and said softly. Not bad. Very impressive. I will remember you. As soon as these words came out, Li Jinhai suddenly became furious, grabbed the policeman's gun, stepped forward, put it against Tu Xiao's head, and growled. Tu Xiao, you'd better show some humming respect to my people. If something happens to him, I'll be the first to catch you. Capture my master? Director Li, your personal grudge is too serious. I, Guan Yunbiao, brought the man and the knife. If you want to arrest you, you have to arrest me. But this little brother is pointing a gun at my boss. Regardless of his identity, he should be more respectful based on his age, right? The voice patted the young agent's shoulder with the knife. Really, chick? Control the knives, put them away. At this time, Tu Xiao stood up and stretched out his hand to Li Jinhai. Untie it. I have something to do. Li Jinhai said angrily. Are you humming going to kill someone? No, 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 I am a legal citizen. I want to talk to Mr. Tang about something. Ask him what it means to untie the upper beam and the lower beam. If it is not untied, it is not necessarily a chat. You threaten me. You can understand that, Li Jinhai, you became the director, but don't forget one thing. You have to protect your family first before you go to protect the world. Click. After the handcuffs fell to the ground, Tu Xiao stepped forward and waved at Guan Yunbiao, slapping him twice. Then he kicked Guan Yunbiao in his lower abdomen. Guan Yunbiao fell into the water, and then quickly stood up. Tu Xiao waved and slapped him again, saying calmly. I have taught you to cooperate with the work of the Yamanman, but have you learned the lesson? Go and apologize to others. Guan Yunbiao was also a man. He turned around and knelt down with a pop in front of the young agent. He bent down and hit the ground with his forehead, creating a splash of water. Tu Xiao turned around and smiled when he saw this. Jinhai, is it enough? If it's not enough, I, Tu Xiao, will kneel down and apologize to you. Li Jinhai took a deep breath and nodded. Enough. He didn't dare to let Tu Xiao kneel down. If Tu Xiao kneeled down today, something big would happen tomorrow, and Tang Wei might disappear. Tu Xiao walked towards Tang Wei despite the heavy rain, squatted down and laughed softly. I'm the father of that little girl you scolded during the day. I'm really not very upright. I've done a lot of things to follow others and benefit myself. I've done everything you can think of. You should be a father too, right? Let's talk as the child's father. Tang Wei was frightened. He sat in the rain and was at a loss. He couldn't say a coherent sentence. He just kept repeating the words I'm sorry. Tu Xiao gradually lost his patience and stood up and took a deep breath. Then he kicked Tang Wei in the face. Tang Wei leaned back, and Tu Xiao stepped forward and stepped on his face, roaring angrily. I have never scolded my daughter, Tu Xiao, when she grew up. I have never touched a hair on her head. Only his uncle dared to slap her twice. "Who do you think you are? You scolded my daughter? I will arrest your daughter tomorrow. Come out and scold me." After finishing his words, Guan Yunbiao reminded him in a low voice. "Master, no, his daughter is Yang Baibei. She also wants to call Han Qian uncle. I even gave the eldest lady a jelly a few days ago." Tu Xiao was stunned for a moment, then stepped down again. "Your daughter is humming better at doing things than you are." Li Jinhai couldn't stand it anymore, so he stepped forward and grabbed Tu Xiao's arm and pushed him away. At this time, a younger brother couldn't stand it anymore. Guan Yunbiao turned around and coughed slightly. The chaotic crowd suddenly became quiet, and Li Jinhai said angrily, "How can I go back and explain to you if you beat me to death?" At this time, Lu Shenga hurried over, lifted up Tang Wei in the water despite the heavy rain, and said respectfully, "Boss Tu, give me some face and spare this loser for once." Tu Xiao squinted at Lu Shenga and frowned. "You want to pinch my daughter's face?" Lu Shenga was stunned for a moment, then waved and slapped himself twice. This was something no one expected. Tang Wei looked at Lu Shenga in disbelief. He didn't expect Lu Shenga would slap him for him. But Tu Xiao shook his head. "Not enough." Lu Shenga waved his hand and slapped himself twice again, whispering, "Boss Tu, is that enough? Now that Director Lu has come forward, can I, Tu Xiao, not say enough?" Tu Xiao let Tang Wei go. Lu Shenga handed Tang Wei to the assistant behind him, untied his tie and took a deep breath, then opened his eyes and growled, "That's enough. Now, Boss Tu, please explain why our employees dare not go home after get off work. I stopped them from going home. Are you saying that it's my fault, Tu Xiao, for being scared that the wives of your company employees can't give birth to children? Reason with Tu Xiao? You will never be able to make sense in this life. When he makes sense, you can't explain him. When he doesn't make sense, he will beat you. Being rich doesn't necessarily mean you are awesome, but a big brother with a younger brother like Jun Biao must be awesome." Lu Shenga turned to look at Li Jinhai and frowned. "Director Li, you also saw this matter." "I discussed this matter with Vice President Gao and President Tuesday. The high-end community jointly developed with Changxiang needs the best security. Boss Tu's security company is the most famous in the city. Today he brought people here for training. Have a question." The crisp sound of her high heels hitting the rainwater made Lu Shenga want to turn around and crush this woman to death. Lu Shenga turned around with his eyes closed and growled, "Yan Ching Ching." As soon as he finished speaking, a voice he was most familiar with came into his ears. "Mr. Yan, this is the feedback report that Changxiang received from Changxiang. Assistant Yu of Changxiang is very satisfied with Mr. Tu's security company. He can stand still for 4 or 5 hours in the rain during heavy rain. This is no longer normal. It's what ordinary people can bear. In addition, I applied to the finance department to provide some subsidies to the brothers of the security group, in case they catch a cold because of our words, which will harm the generosity of the honor group." Lu Shenga's body had begun to tremble, and the veins on his forehead were like earthworms, but the sound did not stop there. "Hello, Mr. Tu. I am Mr. Yan's new assistant. My name is Yeji. From now on, I will hand over business cooperation with your company. Today, my brothers in your company have been affected. I have contacted the Nanhai Fishing Port Hotel to clean up the dust for my brothers. Congratulations to Mr. Tu for having such a dedicated group of employees." After saying this, Yeji turned around, put away the umbrella in his hand and bowed down to salute Tu Xiao's younger brothers. "Yates would like to thank all brothers. If you can be of use to me, Yates, just ask." After saying this, Yates straightened up and smiled. "The premise is that my Yan can always give me this right. My home. Mr. Yet. Give me. Right? Lushenga only heard these few words. Yates went to work as assistant to Yan Qingqing. Yates went to help Yan Qingqing. Lushenga felt that his head was about to explode. Not long ago, he was still missing Yates' business ability. Today, he didn't expect that she would become Yan Qingqing's person. Lushenga opened his eyes and glared at Yates, growling. Han Qian. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 559. Lushenga looked at Yates with resentment in his eyes. At the same time, he didn't understand one thing. Han Qian had poached Yates for a long time and never asked this woman to do anything. After he got Tang Wei, Yates suddenly became Yan Qingqing's assistant. Could it be that Han Qian expected such a day? Impossible, he didn't have the ability, and letting Tang Wei return to the company was a temporary decision that Han Qian couldn't have guessed. The new assistant standing next to Lushenga looked at Yates with resentment in his eyes and said viciously. Traitor! Hearing the sound, Yates turned and glanced at this woman from the corner of his eye. She had seen her before, and she had worked under her before, but Yates was too lazy to talk to her. He took a step back and stood beside Yan Qingqing. The scene froze. Tu Xiao, who was about to leave, stopped and waved to Tang Wei. You sued my little brother Han Qian? Where is he now? After the words fell, Li Jinhai roared and spoke. Tu Xiao, once your matter is resolved, take your people and get out immediately. Don't force me to take you back to the Yamen gate. Li Jinhai's patience had reached its limit, and Tu Xiao knew he couldn't provoke this guy anymore, so he raised his hands in surrender. Okay, I'm leaving now, but Li Jinhai, let me tell you, if something happens to Han Qian, I won't look for anyone else, I will only look for you. After the vast crowd dispersed, Yan Qingqing nodded gently to Gao Xingcheng and asked. Vice President Gao has time. Gao Xing'ai was a little confused, and then Yates spoke softly. In order to reassure company employees, Vice President Gao stood here in the heavy rain. This makes us who work at Honor really feel at ease and feel like we are working under a protective umbrella. In addition, I don't know that Vice President Gao is interested in provoking things. What do the people in the storm think? Gao Xing'ai frowned slightly, thinking about how to answer, but Lushenga couldn't help it and whispered angrily. Yates, don't be so shameless. Yates bowed to Lushenga and said calmly. Director Lu, please respect yourself. There are some things to discuss at tomorrow's board meeting. President Yan and Director Qian have prepared to hold a meeting regarding Manager Tang's smear campaign against the company. As long as Vice President Gao agrees, tomorrow's meeting will proceed as usual. Lushenga narrowed his eyes, and then his assistant spoke. Yates, what qualifications do you have to speak to Director Lu like this? Your backer has fallen. Yates didn't even look at the woman. He lowered his head and said a few words to Yan Qingqing, and then raised his head to look at Gao Qingcheng. Vice President Gao will call you later. Yates and Yan Qingqing left. After getting on the Raptor, Yan Qingqing frowned and asked. Will Gao Xing'ai agree? We haven't discussed this matter with Director Qian yet. Will Lushenga agree to convene a meeting to criticize Tang Wei? Yates wiped the water stains on his head and smiled lightly. Vice President Gao agrees, Director Qian will also agree, and Lushenga will not refuse. If he refuses, you three shareholders will go and talk to him about the separation of the family. Moreover, Lushenga is very conceited, and he will not choose escape or retreat. Of course, it would be better if he does not attend tomorrow. We can convene a board meeting and a high-level meeting to propose changing the chairman. Don't worry about Gao Jishi not agreeing. You and Director Qian can let him be the chairman. Gao Xing's stake is too low. Contracts can solve everything. If one contract is not enough, you can get a few more. It is not difficult to force Lushenga to do certain things. At this time, in prison, Han Qian wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Toad's skills had not deteriorated at all. If he didn't fight hard, he wouldn't be able to beat him. This was because Toad showed mercy. Han Qian sat in the corner and gasped for air. Toad turned his back to the surveillance camera and asked Han Qian was asked many questions. Han Qian answered a few selectively and pretended not to hear the others. When Toad saw Han Qian's mobile phone out of the corner of his eye, he was stunned and said doubtfully, "I'm curious how you brought your phone in." Han Qian sat on the ground playing with Nokia and shrugged. "I told them that I was the only one who could contact Feng Lun, so I brought my mobile phone in. Recently Feng Lun said that he would give me the guys who committed crimes with you. How dare they take my mobile phone? Can you call your family? Be careful, this call is monitored." Toad rushed forward, grabbed the phone, and dialed a number in a familiar manner. A few seconds later, Toad shouted out one word in a trembling voice. "Mom." While Toad was crying and chatting with his old mother, Han Qian was lying on his side on the ground thinking about who sent him in. It definitely couldn't be Li Jinhai. Li Jinhai might send Han Qian to Toad's cell, but he would never send Suliang sent it to Gudapao. Cheng Jin? It should be impossible. Han Qian believed that the relationship between him and Cheng Jin was not just because he had the secret of the Yamanman. Niu Qiudong? Taking risks? Han Qian never found a chance to ask him about surveillance on the night when Go Depeo escaped. Now that he had broken up with Niu Qiudong, he would probably die miserably. Well. I sighed helplessly, I really don't know what to do now. After about 10 minutes, Toad finished talking on the phone. Instead of returning the phone to Han Qian, he dialed another number. This time, he waited for a long time before the call was answered. "I'm a Toad." Hearing these 3 words, Han Qian suddenly sat up and listened closely. There was no sound on the other side of the phone. Toad paused and spoke again. "Han Qian was sent to prison and is with me now. Give him the phone." "It's Feng Lun." But there seemed to be something wrong with the voice. Han Qian answered the phone and said doubtfully, "Is something wrong?" At this time, Feng Lun, who was basking in the sun at the beach, held up his mobile phone and asked doubtfully, "Is something wrong?" Han Qian whispered back, "It's okay, it's just a small matter. I'll help you." "No, I don't want to have anything to do with you. I can handle it. I want to ask who your next target is." "You already guessed why you still ask me. Is there any grudge between you?" "No, the water ghost always wants to drag a few more people into the water. Feng Haida's death is unknown, and this matter has been suppressed like this. Aren't you curious? Is it really a worker who did the surveillance when Hook Cannon escaped?" Han Qian frowned and growled. "Where are you anyway?" "I'm swimming in the sea, hang up. If you need help, call me at any time." The phone was hung up. Han Qian closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He couldn't ask Feng Lun for help, and he wouldn't ask him for help. If he had a relationship with Feng Lun, it would be like smoking a big cigarette. This was the first time. The second time. Feng Lun also hopes that Han Qian will become an extremist. As long as Han Qian cooperates with him, Feng Lun is confident that he can bring down all the people in the city's Yamanmen. It's a pity that it can't be done. On the other side, Suliang was sitting in the corner gasping for breath. He raised his hand to wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth. His 2 fingers were in severe pain. They must have been broken. Go Depeo, who was sitting opposite him, was not much better. The 2 of them were not indifferent. "I was beaten, but I had no strength left. No one dares to relax easily." The 2 of them had no communication. Suliang and Guandegu had beaten Go Depeo, which eventually led to his imprisonment and arrest. After thinking of Han Qian's deception in the hospital, Go Depeo would definitely have a grudge against them. Suliang also knew that he and Han Qian were set up together. It was useless to think about it now. He knew that he would not be here for long. Looking at Go de Peo, who was gradually standing up, Suliang spat and stood up. As long as they don't go out, the fighting will not stop. The two of them had a hard time inside, and it was a mess outside. The most excited person was Cai King Hu, who drove the R8 120 miles back to the city in the heavy rain. Her tires skidded several times on the road and almost caused her to die. An accident occurred, but Cai King Hu couldn't wait. She couldn't wait anymore after she learned that her husband had been sent to a detention center. At the Yamen gate, Chang Jin looked livid, holding the table with both hands and yelling at Niu Qiudong. You asked them to send Han Qian to prison? Even if Han Qian is guilty, he must be tried first and a record made. If mediation cannot be done, he will be sent to prison. What you are doing is against the rules. Niu Qiudong raised his head and smiled lightly. Old Cheng, why are you so excited? Don't bring your personal feelings into work. I know you have a good feeling for Han Qian. I have my own reasons for doing this. The relationship between Han Qian and Feng Lun has always been unclear. Send him in and lock him up with Zhang Gang, we may get some useful information, and of course we will compensate this kid afterwards. Compensation? Hey, you don't understand Han Qian's character? He is young and impulsive. What you do is very likely to stimulate the extreme side of his heart. There is already one Feng Lun in the city, do you still want to create a second Feng Lun? Han Qian and Feng Lun are involved. He threatened the people at the Yamen gate with the secrets in Feng Lun's hands. He was already suspected. The suspected matter has been tested a long time ago, and the people at the provincial government office are also there. Han Qian is innocent, and don't forget, Han Qian almost died on the sea trying to catch Feng Lun. Could they be an accomplice? Whether he is an accomplice or not, we will find out tomorrow morning. What if someone dies in jail tomorrow morning? What you said is if, not what has happened. Niu Qiudong. You insist on doing this. I, Cheng Jin, have nothing to say, right? Tang Wei. I will humming apologize to him on Han Qian's behalf. As soon as these words came out, Niu Qiudong stood up and roared angrily. Cheng Jin, you'd better recognize your identity. Han Qian may be one of Feng Lun's accomplices. There is no need to be convicted. What happened to Han Qian's child? Did Han Qian provide labor protection for the city's sanitation department? Han Qian's sister helped with the recent rise of anchors selling goods. It was Han Qian who rescued people at the Mid-Autumn Festival Gala. Go de Peo was also caught by Han Qian, and you convicted him based on suspicion? Niu Qiudong, I will truthfully report this matter to the province, as well as the surveillance of Shuncheng Resort. While Cheng Jin and Niu Qiudong were looking at each other, Cheng Jin's cell phone rang. It's Han Qian. Cheng Jin answered the phone and Han Qian said bluntly. Give the phone to Niu Qiudong. Cheng Jin handed the phone to Niu Qiudong, and Han Qian said coldly. Pick me and Suliang out within 20 minutes. If it takes more than 1 minute, I will announce the name of a corrupt official and the evidence of corruption. You can bet. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 560. Chapter 555. You still can't help it? Toad sat on the bed and looked at Han Qian. Han Qian really couldn't hold it back. He called Feng Lun and asked this guy for a list of all those involved in corruption and bribery. If Feng Lun didn't give it, Han Qian would cut off the alimony to Toad's family. Toad looked at Han Qian resentfully, while Feng Lun jumped angrily and yelled at Han Qian to wait, Kui Li would come to him for tea. This time Han Qian used another number, and Li Jinhai monitored the mobile phone number, not his. In the end, Feng Lun agreed. Han Qian didn't need to use notes. He could remember all the numbers in his mobile phone and the names of the people Feng Lun mentioned. After hanging up Niu Qiudong's call, Han Qian called Ji Jing. "Aunt Ji, don't ask anything. I will tell you the names of several people now. At 11:01, you will release the charges of this person in order, one per minute until I call you." "What? Don't even ask." After hanging up the phone, Han Qian called Yan Qingqing. "Ask Wu Sijuan to take Luo Shanda to find Ji Jing. Ji Jing will tell you what to do when you get there." The third call was made to Lu Guangming. "Brother Lu, I'm in prison. If you ask someone to send 100,000 in cash to an address, I'll send it to you via text message." Lu Guangming seemed to be doing indecent exercises. When he heard that Han Qian was in prison, he stopped immediately and frowned. 100,000 is enough. Enough. I understand, are you in jail or are you going to do something? Jail. I will pick you up. 20 minutes. After hanging up the phone, Han Qian had a sneer on his lips. "Lu Guangming. You are really cautious. If I don't tell you for 20 minutes, I'm afraid you won't be able to give me the money tonight." The last call was to Cai Qinghu. "Madam, drive slowly and have a midnight snack together." Cai Qinghu told Han Qian that Niu Qiudong was causing trouble behind his back. She made many phone calls and finally learned that Niu Qiudong wanted Han Qian to go to jail. She called Han Qian and told Han Qian, and then Han Qian called Cheng Jin. The phone scene. Han Qian would not doubt Cai Qinghu. After hanging up the phone, Han Qian stood up, straightened his clothes, and said calmly, 100,000 is for our aunt. I have provided your daughter with education insurance, medical insurance, accident insurance, etc. since the Chinese New Year this year. You will serve your sentence well here and leave your family to me." As soon as he finished speaking, Han Qian put his foot on the cell door and roared angrily, "Open the door for me." The cell door was quickly opened, but Han Qian did not go out. He reached out and closed the cell door, turned around and sat next to Toad, and he would not leave. The cell bosses outside the door were confused. What on earth did this old man want to do? And a six was on its way to the prison, Cheng Jin sneered while holding a cigarette in his mouth. "What did Han Qian tell you? He told you to rush to the prison to release him." Niu Qiudong had a gloomy face and said nothing, and Cheng Jin continued. "I've said before, don't mess with this kid. He has a lot of power behind him. Time is short now. If he doesn't come out tomorrow morning, look at Glory, Changxiang, Shunchang, District 8, and Li Jinhai will do it to you at the same time." Pressure. Han Qian didn't do anything wrong at all, he just had to pay for the fight. Listening to Cheng Jin's nagging, Niu Qiudong roared, "Why should I go to such trouble if the other party wants to accept compensation? Do you think I didn't go over to mediate and threw Han Qian into prison just to calm them down and let this matter go away?" "Ah!" Cheng Jin sneered in his heart, Niu Qiudong, you really do one thing in front of your face but another behind your back. Will Han Qian believe it or me?" The two arrived at the prison on time at 11 o'clock. When Niu Qiudong and Cheng Jin just walked into the prison gate, Cheng's phone rang, and then he hung up the phone with a gloomy face, walked up and whispered softly in Cheng Jin's ear. Cheng Jin sneered after hearing this. "Ha! Lao Niu, the first person's name has come out, how about we wait a little longer?" Niu Qiudong's face was as gloomy as water and he growled. "Who is it?" "There is a small police officer in charge of a large truck on the highway. The number is not small. Now his photo and criminal record have been sent to Glory. It will probably appear on the big screen outside the main entrance of Glory Group soon." Niu Qiudong quickened his pace, and Cheng Jin followed behind calmly. He was not in a hurry, and there was still a hand on top to support him if anything happened. When Niu Qiudong arrived at Han Qian's cell, the cell door was open. Han Qian and Toad were sitting on the bed with their arms around their shoulders, rocking from side to side. Toad. You listen to your brother, reform well, try to get a reduced sentence, and find a class after you are released from prison. If not, just become a security guard. Don't get carried away. Impulsiveness is the devil. After finishing his words, Han Qian looked at Niu Qiudong, quickly got up and trotted forward, grabbed Niu Qiudong's hand and choked. Uncle Niu, you are finally here. The child is suffering here. If I don't comfort the toad, he will beat me. Look at my mouth. Yan Luo opened his arms to embrace Niu Qiudong and whispered in his ear. It's 11 and 2. As soon as he finished speaking, Changda's cell phone rang again. This time Changda did not tell Chang Jin in a low voice, but took a step forward and said in a low voice. Another person has been exposed, Guanliangxiu. The top leader of Kisha village is selling land privately. Niu Qiudong was really a little panicked because one person was more important than the other, but Chang Jin was the happiest one and shouted. Changd, what are you still doing? Contact prosecutor CAI to handle these matters. No one can be spared. Especially those who harm the people. Niu Qiudong said in a low voice with a smile on his face. Have you had enough trouble? Where is my brother Sul Yang? It has been sent to the hospital for bandage. Talk about compensation, you still have 30 seconds. Let's talk after we get out. No, 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 I can't go out. Who sent me in and who took me out? Where were those two people during the day? Where is Tang Wei? Uncle Niu, let's play another game. 20 minutes is enough. Niu Qiudong is going crazy. This little brat is so annoying. Niu Qiudong now wants to strangle this guy to death. Even if these people have nothing to do with him, there are a lot of corrupt and bribery people in the city. If he says he doesn't know, will anyone believe him? Even if some people believe it, people from the procuratorate don't believe it either. Niu Qiudong comforted him softly. Uncle Niu sent you in. I thought you could help the Yamanmen get some news about Feng Lun. As for Tang Wei, Uncle Niu helped you solve it. Be good. Stop making trouble. Uncle Niu will cook in person. You Cheng uncle, let me have a drink with you. Is Niu Qiudong wrong? Wrong. He shouldn't use Han Qian secretly. Is he right? He was also right. He wanted to catch Feng Lun so that the people in the city would no longer worry about innocent people being hurt. So was Han Qian wrong? Han Qian was wrong. It was his mistake to hit Tang Wei. Was Sul Yang wrong? He has too. If you want to ask Han Qian, is it right? Then it depends on the benevolent. Han Qian caught Niu Qiudong's weakness. If it's wrong, it's the officials who were wrong. Of course, this is only based on the current situation. Han Qian did not agree to Niu Qiudong's invitation. He did not believe that Niu Qiudong would be so broad-minded and not care about his threat this time, so. The two people who took Han Qian and Sul Yang away from the Gate of Glory came, and so did Tang Wei. At 11:30 in the evening, Tang Wei and Lu Shengge hurried to the prison. When they saw Han Qian sitting in the office with his legs crossed and drinking tea, Lu Shengge frowned and Han Qian said with disdain. Stop looking for it. Niu Qiudong has gone back to deal with other things, and Cheng Jin is not here either. Are you feeling unconvinced? Lu Shengge said nothing. Han Qian looked at Tang Wei and smiled. Are you still unclear about my strength in the city? Do you think I am just a little bastard in front of your master? I will tell you about my strength now, and then you will consider whether to continue to sue me, or it's all about taking money. Tang Wei took a step back and Lu Shengge whispered angrily. Han Qian, are you awesome? Han Qian smiled and said. It may not sound awesome to you, but there's nothing you can do against me, right? I'm talking to Tang Wei, so stay away. Ignoring Lu Shengge, Han Qian said softly. I have a lot of identities. Remember, the vice president of Changxiang, is my ex-wife. We still live together. Tu Xiao from District 8 and I are brothers. I can give his daughter a slap or a kick. Go to education. I gave you the shares of Glory Yan Qing. Qian Ling treats me as a godson. The chairman of Shuncheng Group and I are brothers. The chairman of Huishan Group wants to give me 3 points of thin noodles. Feng Lun is making a fuss in the city. If you have anything to do with me, I can let Kui Li go back to the city at any time. I was the one who caught Guda Pao in the prison. Finally, I can point at the nose of Lu Shenga, who you think is awesome, and curse me. Your mother. Tang Wei is scared. During the day, he scolded the little girl, saying that the upper beam was not straight and the lower beam was crooked. At night, hundreds of people blocked the door of the company, and Han Jian dared to beat the little girl. He was even more afraid of the glorious Yan Qingqing and Qian Ling. As for Feng Lun, don't mention it. Every person mentioned by Han Jian could crush him to death with one finger. He was completely frightened. Men who bully women often don't have strong bones. If they are tough guys, real men, they don't bother to fight a woman. You old men are strong and women are weak. It's glorious for you to win. It would be even more embarrassing to lose. Tang Wei spoke tremblingly. Han, young Master Han, No. You don't need to call me Mr. Han. I just want to ask you how to deal with things between you and Yang Lan, and how to deal with things between you and me. Yang Lan treats me as his younger brother, and Xiao Baibei treats me as his uncle. Even if I am half a mother-in-law, Yang Lan will definitely not live with you anymore. Don't expect too much. Whether you stay in glory or not has nothing to do with me. This is something that the senior management of Glory should deal with. Continue to sue me? Or I'll give you 50,000. Lu Shenga was so angry when he saw Tang Wei's cowardice that he roared in a low voice. Han Qian, don't be too damn pretentious. After saying this, Han Qian stood up and walked to Lu Shenga, grabbed his tie with one hand, patted his shoulder, and smiled. I have a basket, no need to show off, but you, the eunuch, should study it. As soon as he finished speaking, Han Qian punched Lu Shenga hard in the face. Lu Shenga retreated and hit the wall. Tang Wei was already kneeling on the ground, pleading. Master Han, I know I was wrong. Han Qian took out a cigarette and lit it, took a puff and flicked the ash on Tang Wei's head, saying contemptuously. How can a person like you know you are wrong? I don't care if you are wrong, I just know that I can kill you at any time. Han Qian strode out of the prison office and walked out of the prison compound. Looking at the GL8 parked not far away and Lu Guangming standing beside the car smoking, Han Qian shouted. Brother Lu. It's over here. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 561. After Han Qian left, Lu Shenga covered his swollen side face and looked at Tang Wei, who was kneeling on the ground angrily. He had murderous intentions, but this chess piece is still useful. The GL8 business car is not very comfortable to sit in, Han Qian said with a smile while smoking a cigarette. I finally understand why you took this car. Oh. Brother Lu, wait a minute, I have to make some calls. Lu Guangming smiled. Han Qian was busy calling a few girls. Ji Jing was very worried and didn't ask anything. Cai Qinghu directly asked where Han Qian was. After hearing the nursery rhyme, he hung up the phone. This person is used to going to bed early and getting up early. It was already very difficult for the girl to wait until after 12 o'clock. Yu Shisai teased and asked Han Qian if he wanted to find her to have some passion. Han Qian whispered that next time. Cai Qinghu has come to see Han Qian. What was most difficult for Han Qian to accept was when Nuan. She didn't even know that he was taken to prison. Go to sleep, Brother Lu, and I will go out for some late-night snacks. Come back and bring me some. Han Qian was so angry that he almost smashed his phone. Why doesn't he care about me at all? But when Nuan didn't know about this, it should be that the girls concealed it intentionally. After making all the calls, Nokia's battery was almost out of power. At this time, he was passing by a roadside stall. Han Qian pointed at it, and Lu Guangming said with a wry smile, "Brother, eat this." "Brother, this tastes good, but I don't feel happy." "Drink. I'm treating you." Lu Guangming is the most suitable friend to be a fair-weather friend. After getting out of the car, I don't know which mistress of Lu Guangming went to order food and buy cigarettes. Han Qian and Lu Guangming sat across from each other at the table on the ground. The words fell behind the two of them in the rain. Han Qian, he lowered his head and whispered, "I just beat Lu Shenga, and he's in prison." "Did you hit him in the basket? Does he have that thing?" "I don't know, I haven't seen it." The two grown men looked at each other seriously, then raised their heads and laughed. Lu Guangming's mistress bought 2 boxes of cigarettes, 101 boxes of Yellow Crane Tower. This woman was very emotional. She first lit them for Han Qian, and then directly handed the lighter to Lu Guangming. This made Han Qian feel that this woman didn't seem to take Lu Guangming too seriously, but she lit a cigarette for him. Han Qian called his sister-in-law softly. The woman did not refuse, and Lu Guangming laughed. At the wine table, the two of them drank cheap draft beer and ate meat skewers that cost 1 yuan apiece. The well-dressed woman put her expensive LV bag casually on the table and put 2 packs of cigarettes on top of the bag, worrying that it would wet. Peel the garlic, pour the wine, light the cigarette. Other than that, there was no action. No matter what topic the two talked about, the woman didn't even raise her eyebrows. As if she didn't hear anything, Han Qian pursed his lips and whispered to Lu Guangming, "Real sister-in-law." Lu Guangming smiled. "It wasn't before, but it will be after tonight, brother. In fact, I like the one next to you the most, Cai Qinghu, she is really a good match for you." Han Qian frowned slightly, then felt a chill coming from behind him, and smiled. "My wife is naturally a good match for me." The murderous intention behind him disappeared. When Han Qian reached out to pull the person behind him, his claws were knocked off by a slap. "I'm not interested in men. Why don't you call me when you're drinking?" Han Qian was stunned when he turned to look at the mummy-like Sul Yang, and finally frowned. "Fine." 2 fingers were broken, an arm was dislocated, and the rest were all skin injuries. Go De Peo was sent to the hospital for rescue. "We don't know whether he can survive. At first, we were not prepared to fight to the death, but then he mentioned you. With Qinghu, we are going to kill each other." "Brother Lu, is this your sister-in-law?" "Hello sister-in-law. I'm a little thirsty, sister-in-law." The sister-in-law stood up and gave up her seat, gave Sul Yang a glass of wine, and then went to find the boss to add a small chair. After Cai Qinghu sat down, he snorted at Han Qian, acting like a petty loser. Han Qian's words were useless, so he simply ignored it. "Continue drinking with Lu Guangming and Sul Yang." Cai Qinghu gritted his teeth in anger, and Lu Guangming's woman spoke softly. "Brother Qianer feels aggrieved, and Lianger feels aggrieved as well. Let them have a good time. Let's talk about something tomorrow. In fact, men are childish and will not grow up. Give them a day, and they may remember you for the rest of their lives." Cai Qinghu lowered his head and whispered, "I'm worried about him. He always shows off and won't tell me anything." "That's good. I feel sorry for you. I won't tell you if I'm injured or in pain. What's on a man's shoulders is responsibility and responsibility. Responsibility also includes the protection and care of the beloved woman. Brother Chiener is very good, okay. It hurts. After saying the words, Cai Kinghu lowered his head and choked. How can I not feel bad? When I found out that he was imprisoned with the toad, I even forgot how to drive the car. R8 crashed. Han Qian spoke unexpectedly, and Cai Kinghu, who was just a little sad, glared at Han Qian. Well, it hit. The pig hit the tree, and I hit you. After drinking with Lu Guangming until about 2 o'clock in the middle of the night, Han Qian stood up in a daze and prepared to leave, asking Cai Kinghu to take Suliang back to the hospital. After Cai Kinghu and Suliang left, Han Qian rejected Lu Guangming again and wanted to leave on his own. Staggering in the heavy rain, everything was soaked by the rain. Han Qian's steps were slow. He saw a familiar figure, the familiar red car. Han Qian stood on the spot and shouted at the top of his lungs. I can't walk. I'm going to fall. The car door opened, and slender legs appeared first. The car door didn't even have time to close and ran towards Han Qian, muttering as he ran. Drink, drink, drink. You just know how to drink, but you don't know how much you can drink. The slender figure arrived when Han Qian was about to fall and hugged the drunk man. Han Qian looked at the familiar face, stretched out his hand and squeezed it, and said softly. Why don't you sleep? How could I sleep when my husband was sent to prison? Did you tell Mom? I didn't say anything. My husband can handle it. There is no need for me, a woman, to rush around. I can just wait quietly at home. Grown up. I grew up when you weren't with me. Go home. Do you want to sleep on the street? Half of Han Qian's body was pressed against Wen Nuan. Wen Nuan, who never exercised, surprisingly did not fall. He helped Han Qian step by step towards the car. When they were less than 1 meter away from the car, the two of them fell down and fell in the puddle. Han Qian and Wen Nuan looked at each other, and then grinned innocently. The two fools finally climbed into the car. Han Qian looked at the soaked warmth and whispered. Sorry, thank you. It's okay, I love you. After the words fell, the two people who had liked each other for a long time hugged each other and kissed passionately. The rain outside the car became heavier, and bursts of thunder came from the originally silent sky, seeming to celebrate the arrival of this day. Two people without courage. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 562. Han Qian has a bad drinking capacity. Nuan accompanied this guy to play drunkenly. Gan Chai Lihuo was interrupted because of too much water, and it seemed that he was going to fight the flood. When they returned home, they didn't dare to park the car in the underground garage. When the two of them walked in, their clothes were soaked through. Han Qian sobered up and ran to the bathroom on the first floor to change clothes. Wen Nuan went straight to the second floor. A night of silence. Early the next morning, the sky cleared. The two people lying on the bed reached out and put their hands on each other's foreheads at the same time. The next second they stood up at the same time and fell down at the same time. Got a fever? Two people had a fever at the same time. This was something that had never happened before. Han Qian struggled several times and couldn't sit up. Nuan took the phone in a daze and made a call. After an hour, when she brought a cup of warm water and 2 boxes of medicine to the 2 children. Wen was a little better and could drink the medicine by himself. As for Han Qian, he didn't even have the strength to raise his hand. The father-in-law handed the medicine to him hand in hand. Next, when I was getting ready to dress my son-in-law, I saw bruises on his lower abdomen. Wen Shu didn't ask anything. He dressed his son-in-law and said softly, "You're quite a big man, why don't you know how to take good care of yourself? Your mother is making porridge for you downstairs. I'll help Han Qian go downstairs first, and Dad will carry you down later. Wen Nuan sat on the bed and shook his head in a daze, while Han Qian didn't know how he got downstairs. Hearing that the two children had a fever at the same time, Li Jinhe and Wen Shi rushed over in a hurry. When the mother-in-law looked at her son-in-law, who was already somewhat unconscious, she felt extremely distressed. She put down the bowls and chopsticks in her hands and stepped forward to pat her son-in-law gently. "Face," said softly. "Son, open your eyes and look at Mom. If it doesn't work, let's go to the hospital." Han Qian tried his best to open his eyes and forced a smile. "Mom, when did you come?" The father-in-law laid his son-in-law down on the sofa and sighed. "I just took the medicine. I will check the situation later. Our daughter is still conscious. Xiao Qianer is a little serious. If it doesn't work, let's go to the hospital. Jinhe, come with me. I have something to tell you." The old couple walked into the kitchen, and when she told the story about the injuries on her son-in-law's body, the mother-in-law suddenly became furious and gritted her teeth and growled. "Very serious?" When she nodded. "The force of the attack should be quite strong. I looked at the clothes the two children changed into in the two bathrooms. They were all covered in mud. You go and help the girl down while I make a few calls." "What are you calling?" "My daughter and Qianer haven't said anything about it, so let's not ask about it. We'll talk about it after the two children recover. I'll make a call." Li Jinhe said that when she was not allowed to inquire, but Li Jinhe couldn't help himself and called his second brother Li Jinhai. The person on the phone hesitated and couldn't explain what was going on. Li Jinhe didn't press him, so he called his second brother Li Jinhai. "Li Dole." Li Er was very afraid of this ant, so he explained the matter clearly like pouring beans into a bamboo tube. "Throw your precious son-in-law into prison with the serious criminal Zhang Gang? And he also beat his son-in-law's brother seriously?" The third call was made to the second brother Li Jinhai. Li Jinhai scolded him so much that he finally said it was time to stop. "Your second uncle can't help you, and don't ask your nephew and son-in-law to solve your trouble." Li Jinhai had a terrible headache. Then he heard that his niece and son-in-law were sick, so he hung up the phone and asked the child's aunt to come over. The two children were leaning on the sofa side by side. When she was feeding the porridge with a spoon, there was no hint of impatience in his movements. He just hoped that nothing would happen to the children. Li Jinhe called his love rival Zhang Xian and asked him to she came over to see the two children. With such a mother-in-law and father-in-law, what reason does Han Qian have for not being kind to Wen Nuan? Not long after, Zhang Xian and her second aunt came over. Her second aunt bought a lot of snacks and fruits. Zhang Xian prescribed some medicine for the two children, and then the two of them were driven away by Li Jinhe. In one sentence, "There's no food for you." Zhang Xian wasn't angry either. She gave Wen Shi a wink when she went out. When she didn't dare to answer, she lowered her head and wiped the floor tiles that could be seen in the mirror. She sent the two of them away and watched her daughter-in-law come back. "Wen Shi," he said quickly. "Xiao Qian loves to be clean a little too much. I don't think there's even a mop at home, so the floor is wiped with a rag." Li Jinhe glared at Wen Shi, then looked at his son-in-law and daughter, sighed, and ignored Wen Shi, who was looking for nothing to say. After a wasted day, Han Qian and Wen Nuan woke up at the same time when it was getting dark. They looked at each other and breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. Wen got out of bed first and walked out of the guest room, looking at his parents sitting in the living room watching the silent TV. Wen Nuan was stunned for a moment, then looked at the living room, and after confirming that it was his own home, he said doubtfully, "Mom. Lao Wen, why are you here?" When Han Qian in the room heard these words, he rolled out of bed and laid his hands on the doorframe. He looked at the father-in-law and mother-in-law sitting on the sofa. Han Qian was a little panicked and said in a trembling voice, "Dad, Mom. As soon as he finished speaking, a pillow flew over, and Han Qian quickly changed his words. Mom, Dad. Li Jinhe's expression softened a lot. He stood up and walked forward, stretched out his hand and touched Han Qian's forehead, and breathed a sigh of relief. Well, Jiang Xian really has 2 brushes. Her fever went down so quickly. Are you hungry? I cooked porridge for you. After saying this, Nuan turned around and was about to leave, but Li Jinhe grabbed him by the collar and said angrily in a low voice. Where are you going, little white-eyed wolf? Nuan whispered. Mom, I'm not hungry, I'm a little sleepy. I'm sleeping after eating porridge. The porridge you made doesn't taste good, it's like paste. Han Qian, Dad, help me. As soon as he finished speaking, Wen found that the 2 guys were already sitting at the dining table. Wen was used to the paste made by Li Jinhe, while Han Qian was not too picky about food other than seafood and offal. Nuan angrily sat at the dining table and glared at the 2 traders, refusing to eat in a show of temper. The moment the mother-daughter war was about to break out, Han Qian spoke. I'll cook instant noodles for you later, okay? The originally gloomy girl suddenly smiled like a flower, hugged Han Qian's arm and said coquettishly that her husband was so nice. Li Jinhe did not forget to stimulate his daughter. You 2 haven't remarried yet. Let's talk again. You can have a child first. You don't have time. Your father and I will help take care of the child. We both have free time. We have something to do with the child. Han Qian raised his head and smiled without saying anything, and Nuan muttered softly. I'm afraid you'll take your children to play mahjong. As soon as he finished speaking, a chopstick fell on his forehead, causing Nuan to scream in pain, but the thunder was loud and the raindrops were light, so it had no effect. The mother and daughter had been arguing for so many years, and Nuan did one thing right. That is to suddenly marry Han Qian. After Han Qian drank 2 bowls of porridge, Li Jinhe was all smiles, and it was his son-in-law who gave him face. When Han Qian put down his chopsticks and was about to prepare instant noodles for when she pushed him down on the chair and said softly. I'll turn on Xiao Nuan later. Let me ask you something. Why were you imprisoned in prison, and how did you get out? Han Qian roughly explained everything, including the conversation and transaction with Feng Lun, as well as the threat to Niu Qiudong. After hearing this, Wen she just said pay attention to safety and got up to start a small stove for his daughter. At night, the mother-in-law and the father-in-law were sleeping on the first floor. Han Qian was just about to go to bed when Nuan rushed into the room savagely holding the quilt. You go inside. Han Qian moved half a meter, and when Nuan got on the bed to sleep under the quilt. Han Qian was a little confused, stretched out his finger and tapped Nuan's shoulder, and whispered. What are you doing? You want to sleep here again? Aren't you afraid that my bestiality will bring disaster to you at night? I'm here to be my aunt. Your aunt is a courier? Is she always on call? Shut up. I'm sleepy. If you talk, I'll beat you. It is quite now. When Nuan and Han Qian got up early in the morning and sneaked away, all because the mother-in-law's breakfast was too horrible. Before 8 o'clock, Han Qian was standing in front of the company's main entrance. Fortunately, the door had been opened. Han Qian was sitting on the tea table in the lobby smoking a cigarette. The security captain was sitting aside and chatting about Tu Xiao's incident that day. Han Qian muttered in his heart that this old guy is really not afraid of being caught. Besides, Tang Wei is also unlucky. It's not good for you to provoke anyone, but you provoke Tu Kun. At 8:40, there were more people at the main entrance of the company. When Xiao Yangjia saw Han Qian, she couldn't help it. She told Han Qian everything about yesterday's board meeting. Tang Wei had entered the probation period. If he couldn't produce any results within a month, he would get out. Han Qian didn't care much about this and asked Yang Lan quietly how the divorce was going. Little Yang Jia tilted her head and whispered. Sister-in-law King Hu picked my sister up this morning. It seems she went to go through divorce procedures. I don't know the details. My sister never told me this, huh? Brother Qian'er, what did you do yesterday? I have a fever and have been lying at home for a day. No wonder, eh? Where is Brother Liang? He's lying in the hospital. Little Yang Jia didn't say anything, but Han Qian had forgotten about Su Liang being in the hospital. Just as he was about to call Niu Qiudong, members of the general department gathered around and asked about Han Qian and Su Liang. Han Qian didn't know what to do. Explain, prevaricate, and make excuses. The expression on the big guy's face was full of suspicion. Just when Han Qian was about to escape, Yan Qingqing came. Han Qian, go to the office and wait for me. This was the first time that Yan Qingqing felt cute. Han Qian got up and ran away, while Yao Shui shouted from behind. You can run away, but the monk can't run away from the temple. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 563. Chapter 558. The boss chair in the general manager's office seemed to have been renamed. Yan Qingqing served tea and poured water. Han Qian sat on the chair and looked at the documents. After Yan Qingqing finished her business, she placed a cup of hot tea in front of Han Qian and whispered road. Yang Lan went to go through the divorce procedures. Tang Wei and we failed to kick him out of the company. He privately agreed to divorce and left the house. Did you beat Lu Shenga? Han Qian picked up the teacup and took a sip, but accidentally burned his lips. Yan Qingqing hurriedly took the teacup and put it down, holding Han Qian's face and blowing on his lips. Han Qian stretched out his hand and placed it on Yan Qingqing's waist, laughing softly. Not so squeamish, how did you know I beat Lu Shenga? Yan Qingqing lowered her head and glanced at Han Qian's hand, and whispered doubtfully. Huh? Why did you become more proactive today? Did you have a fever yesterday that burned your brain? Then I won't help you. General Han, just be happy. I can't think of anyone else in the city who dares to attack Lu Shenga, except you. After saying this, Yan Qingqing sat on Han Qian's lap, holding the teacup and blowing it to cool down. Han Qian did not resist, tilted his head and laughed softly. When I was in prison, I didn't like him no matter how I looked at him, so I punched him. The eunuch was very wise and didn't fight back. Yan Qingqing rolled her eyes and spoke helplessly. It's not that he is wise, but most people know that they would rather talk to a madman than fight with Han Qian. Yesterday, someone from the Yamanmen contacted me and asked about compensation for Su Liang. I asked him to expel all parties involved. Members, we don't need any money from the Yamanmen, we should pay for it ourselves, but they didn't agree. Give me your phone. Yan Qingqing took out her mobile phone from her underwear and handed it to Han Qian. Han Qian was stunned, stretched out two of them and even pinched them, frowning. What did you put it in there for? You've been touching me for a long time, but I have a pocket on my body. Han Qian took his left hand away, but after tinkering for a long time, he still couldn't figure out how to turn it on. Seeing Yan Qingqing stretch out a finger to unlock the phone, Han Qian shouted about high technology, and Yan Qingqing covered her face and cursed a country bumpkin helplessly. He called the Yamanman and was quickly connected. It was not Niu Qiudong's voice, but his secretary's. Hello, Mr. Yan. Han Qian, I heard that Mr. Yan asked you to fire a few people involved yesterday, but you refused, right? Young Master Han. I want to hear an explanation on this matter. The attitude on the other side changed. Han Qian ignored the guy looking at the dishes and curled his lips. What? It's useless for my Qingqing to call you. Do you want me to call Niu Qiudong? Tell the people at the Yeomanman that either you will fire them, or I will fire them for you. Snapped. Han Qian hung up the phone. Yan Qingqing stood up, held Han Qian's face and kissed him hard. Mua, General Han is mighty. Before he finished speaking, the office door was pushed open and Cai Qinghu's voice came. I'm so exhausted. If I had known that Tang Wei was so cowardly, I wouldn't have to go to the court. I'm so tired. Yan Hu, what are you doing? Cai Qinghu let out a scream, as if his beloved toy had been destroyed. Yan Qingqing smiled at Cai Qinghu with squinted eyes, turned around and sat on Han Qian's lap, put her hands around Han Qian's neck, and smiled with squinted eyes. Road. You guess. After finishing his words, Yang Lan walked into the office. Yan Qingqing stood up hurriedly and coughed lightly. Ahem, are you done with things? Has Tang Wei fulfilled his promise? Yang Lan seemed to be in a good mood, smiling and nodding. Everything goes well, I'm finally free. Yan Qingqing breathed a sigh of relief. Just settle it. When I see him in the company in the future, I will treat him like a dog. I will try to get him to pack up and leave within a month. If not, I will send him to the branch to avoid being upset. Cai Qinghu, what are you doing? Han Qian, are you disabled? Cai Qinghu was about to push Han Qian away with the chair. After being discovered by Yan Qingqing, Cai Qinghu felt a little childish. He let go of the chair and turned the topic around. MS sir. Cai Qinghu shouted this, and Yan Qingqing instantly got goosebumps all over her body. She bent down and looked for a baseball bat in the desk. Cai Qinghu ignored Yan Qingqing and continued. I received some gossip. It seems that one of Feng Haida's former students secretly sent you to the prison called Dukang. Yan Qingqing whispered. Isn't that wine? Cai Qinghu said with disdain. You can go play in the mud wherever you want. You don't understand what's going on at the Yamen gate. Seeing that the two girls were about to fight, Han Qian hurriedly stopped him. For some reason, Cai Qinghu was a little afraid of Wen Nuan, Wen was a little afraid of Yan Qingqing, and Yan Qingqing was a little afraid of Cai Qinghu. Infinite loop. Han Qian said. Are you sure this Dukang is not the scapegoat being pushed out? Cai Qinghu curled his lips and replied after hearing this. He is willing to be a scapegoat. Niu Qiudong doesn't have such a fool in his hands. He will definitely not take the risk of sending you in. Now they don't fire the involved personnel, right? In order to send this Dukang away just because he can't withstand the pressure you put on him. To come out and take the blame, and then say that the government office can't just deal with superficial issues, but to go deeper, is selling out personal favors. Insidious. Cai Qinghu nodded in agreement. At this time, Yang Lan asked where Sul Yang had gone. Han Qian slapped his forehead and forgot about this guy again. This time, Sul Yang's injury was completely caused by Han Qian, but Han Qian didn't tell him. Sul Yang asked Yan Qingqing to find someone to pay the medical expenses. Then Yan Qingqing called Ye Ji and the result was that the matter had been taken care of. Mentioning Yates, Yan Qingqing had a headache and muttered softly. Han Qian, this Yates makes me feel stressed. She is too smooth and smart. I always feel like I can't suppress her. Han Qian smiled. Why are you suppressing her? Just delegate power to her. You are already a shareholder. You have to learn to delegate power. She has no shares. How much trouble can she make? Yan Qingqing frowned and sat next to Yang Lan, then sighed. That being said, I'm always worried that she will betray me. Did Yates ever tell you that Lushenga was suspicious? Said. Then don't worry, she can't go back. Sister Yang, be careful with her claws. After being reminded by Han Qian, Yang Lan discovered that Yan Qingqing's hand had been placed on her chest at some point. Yang Lan stood up with a blushing face, while Yan Qingqing lay on the sofa and sighed helplessly. Hey! I suddenly feel so tired. Han Qian, come here and let me take care of you. Han Qian ran away, and Cai Qinghu sat next to Yan Qingqing. As soon as Han Qian went out, he heard Yan Qingqing scream and Cai Qinghu's evil smile coming from inside. Are you still tired? I don't know what the three of them were playing in there. He didn't dare to go back to the general department when he went downstairs. Han Qian went to find Gao Xianjin. Lu Shenge jumped again and again, so it was time to deal with him. As soon as he walked to Gao Xianjin's door, Han Qian received a call and hung up the phone without stopping. He ran to the city bureau, pushed open the door of Li Jinhai's office, and Han Qian said angrily, "What's going on? What's going on?" The ashtray in front of Li Jinhai was full of cigarette butts. His eyes were red and his voice was hoarse. Something happened on the way to the hospital. He kidnapped a police officer and escaped. It can now be confirmed that he has escaped from the city. Han Qian slapped his hand on the desk and roared angrily. How long did it take me to humming Catch Go Cannon, and you let him run away? It was our fault. Han Qian closed his eyes and took a deep breath before saying weakly. Is there no one behind this matter? Niu Qiudong can't help but want to take action against me. Li Jinhai sighed. We don't have any valid evidence at the moment. Just as Han Qian was about to speak, Cheng Jing called. Han Qian, Go De Peo escaped from prison. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 564. There was a meeting at the Yamen gate. Han Qian was sitting at the conference table with a gloomy face. Su Yang next to him looked very relaxed. The person with the same ugly face as Han Qian was Lu Shenge. He was called over by Han Qian. Lu Shenge immediately called the capital after receiving the news and told Lu Shengyu to wear a bodyguard when going out. Li Jinhai, Niu Qiudong, Cheng Jin, Cai Qinghu, and several leaders Han Qian couldn't name gathered in the conference room. Only a few people could sit down, while the rest stood still. The atmosphere was solemn. Han Qian smoked out a cigarette, stood up without saying a word, smiled at Lu Shenge, picked up a chair and rushed towards Lu Shenge the next second. Li Jinhai and the warden stepped forward to hold Han Qian. The warden kept apologizing, but Han Qian didn't even look at him, pointed at Lu Shenge and said coldly. Are you happy? Did you have fun drafting it? It was you who broke Go De Peo's ribs. I sent him to prison. Who do you think he wants to seek revenge from? Lu Shenge stood up with a sullen face, pointed at Han Qian and said angrily. Han mad dog, don't humming yell at me. I let him go. You should go to the Yeomanman to give us an explanation. What does this matter have to do with me? Can this happen if you don't get Tang Wei back? If you died at the Mid-Autumn Festival party, the city would have been quiet a long time ago. Maybe someone from the government office didn't like you and deliberately let Go De Peo go. When the words came out, someone in the crowd at the Yamen gate spoke up, claiming that Lu Shenge was spewing blood, and Lu Shenge turned around and cursed angrily. Baby, did I give you face? It was me and Han Mad Dog, Su Yang, who were imprisoned and handed over to your prison. Now that they have escaped in your prison, you still have the nerve to stand here? Don't tell me if you don't explain anything. If you can't catch Guda Pao within 3 months, I, Lu Shenge, will withdraw all the city's investments and dissolve the Glory Group. Let me see how long it takes for you to support the establishment of a group. I see that nearly 10,000 people in the city have been laid off. What to do? Lu Shenge's threat is a lifeline to the Yeomanman. If Glory is disbanded, Changxiang Group will be the only one left in the city. By then, the Yeomanman will be led by Chang Xiang, and Lushenga is right. Honor closes its doors, and nearly 10,000 employees will indeed face unemployment. The Honor office building only has 300 to 500 people, but what about the Honor shopping mall? What about the factory? This is not just as simple as Honor shutting down. If Honor stops doing business, how many businesses that rely on Honor will go bankrupt? Cheng Jin closed his eyes and sighed, speaking softly. Director Liu, calm down. This matter is due to Yeomanman's dereliction of duty. I will give you a satisfactory explanation. Cheng Jin opened his mouth, but Han Qian didn't say a word. But as soon as Niu Qiudong said a word, Han Qian started scolding him on the spot. To put it simply, you don't know what kind of bastard Gu Dapao is. He doesn't do anything like murder or kidnapping. If something happens to the people around me, will you pay with your life? After the words fell, someone yelled. Han Qian, please keep your mouth clean. This is not the place for you to act wild. If you want to act wild, go home and find your mother. Han Qian's eyes turned cold instantly, and he pointed at the person who spoke and asked. Do you dare to tell me your name and position? Afraid of you? Let's see how powerful you can be. You are so powerful. My name is Zhou Runkai. If I'm afraid of you, I don't deserve to sit here. Han Qian was so angry that he gritted his teeth and whispered. Zhou Runkai, right? You think I don't know about you? You think you are clean, you think no one betrays you, how many people trade your secrets for a future, do you think you will be fine if you don't go to the Mid-Autumn Festival party? King Hu. Take people to the villa in Yushabei, and then go to the mental hospital to find a girl named Wu Yang and ask her if she knows anyone named Zhou. Zhou Runkai's face instantly turned pale, she stood up and pointed at Han Qian's hysterical roar. You are so slanderous. Han Qian said with a ferocious smile. If you didn't mention my mother just now, I might have spared you a life. Something suddenly happened in the meeting, and everyone panicked. How much does Han Qian know? If Lushenga's words pointed to their destiny, then Han Qian had already dragged half of their feet into the palace of hell. Cai King Hu stood up, took out his identity certificate and said coldly to Zhou Runkai. Mr. Zhou, I think we should talk. As soon as he finished speaking, Cai King Hu's phone call went directly to the provincial government office. Zhou Runkai was taken away. There were also big bosses from the procuratorate here. No one wanted to miss this opportunity. Han Qian sat down and lit another cigarette and said coldly. I don't care what method you use, just do what Lushenga said. If we can't catch Hook Cannon within 3 months, then none of us will live. From last night to now, I have published the criminal records of 3 people, didn't you pose a threat to me by letting go De Peo go? Oh, threatening me to shut up? Shut up. If it's not fun, then don't live anymore, look for me to be the criminal of the Mid-Autumn Festival party. What's the address? I don't know. As soon as he finished speaking, Han Qian took out his mobile phone card and broke it in front of everyone. The breakage of this card was equivalent to the interruption of contact with Feng Lun. Li Jinhai opened his mouth without saying a word. He didn't know what to say. In fact, this matter had little to do with him, but the prison was linked to him. He will bear this responsibility. Han Qian stood up and threw away the cigarette butt in his hand and turned to look at Cheng Jin. Old man, I can keep this matter secret, or I can ask King Hu to hide it for you, and Lushenga won't tell it, but I hope you can take this matter to heart and don't let the people around me tell you. You won't know the seriousness of the matter until it's over. I'll leave first, and we can meet and chat when we have time. Han Qian left, leaving everyone behind with wide eyes and small eyes. It wasn't until Cheng Jin roared that everyone knew to go about their own business. Everyone left one after another. When Cheng Jin returned to the office, he saw Han Qian and Sul Yang. Cheng Jin closed his eyes and sighed weakly, saying softly. The hands are too short and the sex is too straight. Han Qian shrugged and said softly. I know you are in trouble, so I won't force you. Old man, do you think this matter can be escaped without anyone messing around? It's just that I have no evidence now, but I can guess pretty much. Cheng Jing glanced at Han Qian, then turned around, closed the door, pulled a chair forward, and asked with a frown. Talk about it? Han Qian shrugged again. It's so simple. First of all, I had a grudge against Go Depeo. I threw him into prison. Then Niu Qiudong threw me and Xiao Liang into prison. Do you think Lu Shenga wouldn't have been there without Lu Shenga's efforts? But Niu Qiudong, who asked about Feng Lun, would suddenly throw me and Toad together? And he still knew that I might help you arrest someone recently, and then he was threatened by me and had to let me go. If it was really Lu Shenga who asked him to arrest, do you think he will hate Lu Shenga and me? Cheng Jin frowned and Han Qian said. He hates me, and he also hates Lu Shenga. If it weren't for Lu Shenga, he wouldn't be threatened by me. Who has a grudge against me and Lu Shenga? That's Go Depeo, the desperado. Getting rid of me can make many shady scenes disappear. Get rid of him, Lu Shenga can also make the matter of him helping Lu Shenga disappear completely. After the words fell, Su Liang continued. Mayor Cheng, don't think that Lu Shenga said 3 months casually. He was also testing whether Niu would let Go Depeo go. 3 months is a very appropriate time. In the first 2 months, Go was very nervous. Depao didn't dare to come back. It's not right to say that he completely relaxed his vigilance in the 3rd month. If Go Depao took action at that time, Lu Shenga would also take action against Niu Qiudong. Some things don't require evidence, and they are all shady things anyway. Cheng Jin lowered his head and thought for a long time, then nodded. Be careful, the Yamanmen will seize the opportunity to catch Gu Depao. Is there anything else? Han Qian nodded. Yes. Dukong. In the afternoon of the same day, Deputy Mayor Zhou Runkai was interviewed and voluntarily resigned from his post as Deputy Mayor. Later, Prosecutor Dukong was taken away and 4 others were fired. But what Han Qian expected did not happen. They all confessed and did not report anyone. In other words, no one pointed the finger at Niu Qiudong. Han Qian was confused. Did he really miss this old guy? The prison break incident only caused a stir in a small circle, and many people were unaware of it. Han Qian did not tell them to avoid causing panic, but he told Tu Xiao, and Boss Tu said something. Eat, drink, play, leave the rest to me. Go Depeo is not Feng Lun. He can only make some ordinary people afraid. As for Han Qian, Tu Xiao and even Su Liang did not take this guy seriously, but Lu Shenga was afraid. He didn't deserve to die with such a person. Su Liang went home to recuperate, and Han Qian returned to the company. As soon as he walked into the main door, he saw Tang Wei talking to little Yang Jia at the front door. Little Yang Jia looked impatient, and Tang Wei was full of flattery. Han Qian stepped forward and hugged little Yang Jia. Shoulders, frowning. What's wrong? Seeing Han Qian, Tang Wei hurriedly bent down to show his goodwill and said respectfully. No, it's nothing. I'm just talking to Yang Jia, nothing. Seeing Han Qian, Tang Wei fled in despair. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 565. At noon, Ji Jing accompanied Han Qian to eat in the cafeteria, which gave Yao Shui, who had always wanted to inquire about gossip, no chance to come over and ask. For 2 set meals, Ji Jing fed the meat on the plate into Han Qian's mouth piece by piece. This scene made others envious. Ji Jing playfully fed a piece of ginger to Han Qian, and Han Qian ate it without even thinking about opening his mouth. Then glared at Ji Jing with a frown, and swallowed the ginger slices with difficulty. Ji Jing leaned forward and whispered. My eldest nephew, why are you so absent-minded? What happened? Han Qian shook his head gently, glanced at Ji Jing's plump breastplate, and said softly. Aunt Ji, can you see your toes when you look down? Ji Jing glanced down, then raised her head again with a squinted smile. It's definitely not visible. If you bend down, you can see a little bit, but that would be too tiring. Shall I touch it? It's here. Let's wait until there's no one around. Han Qian gave in again. He obviously felt that he had changed, but he still had an inexplicable fear of girls. Even if she took the initiative, he still couldn't take a step forward. This may have a lot to do with Han Qian's character. Relation. After dinner and the usual cigarette, Han Qian sat on the steps at the door. Ji Jing sat next to him, leaning her head on his shoulder. After coming back from playing for 2 days, Aunt Ji suddenly changed. I have to be a little bit forceful and become clingy. This is entirely because Han Qian is standing still. Ji Jing has discovered it. If she doesn't take the initiative, Han Qian can stay still for the rest of his life. Nephew, you are not happy. Han Qian closed his eyes and nodded, sighing. Except Aunt Ji feeding me, nothing can make me happy. I'm very irritable and many people don't like me. I like my eldest nephew. Why do you like them? They are just some unimportant people, and blow away all their biu. Ji Jing used 2 fingers to form a sword and waved it in front of Han Qian. Han Qian laughed and put his arms around Ji Jing's shoulders. He didn't care about anyone's eyes and just sat on the steps. Han Qian was really unhappy, but Ji Jing was beside him. After the silence, he felt a little better. Wobbly and heartless. Han Qian, do you like boys or girls? A sudden question caught Han Qian off guard. He was slightly startled, and then smiled. Girl, if my son were like me, I'd probably be pissed to death. It wouldn't be easy. But I like boys, you must be a, not very qualified father. Aunt Ji likes children very much. I don't like it. I have to change diapers, breastfeed, do this, do that. Just thinking about it makes me crazy, my nephew. Aunt Ji is acting like a spoiled child. Han Qian's eyes were a little frightened, and then he stood up and pulled Ji Jing down the steps, talking as he walked. Aunt Ji, something's wrong with you. Let me take you to the hospital for a checkup. I don't want to go. After playing around and kissing each other, when Han Qian was about to take Ji Jing out to play, Yan Qingqing called. You two are almost done. You've been tired for more than half an hour. Pay attention to the impact. You go back to the general department and ask Ji Jing to come find me. Han Qian raised his head and looked towards the 14th floor and whispered. I want to take a day off. No. If you don't work for 10 full days this month, you won't even get a penny of pocket money. Ji Jing hugged Han Qian's neck and whispered. It's okay, I have it. Although the voice was low, Yan Qingqing heard it very clearly, her lips trembled with anger, and she gritted her teeth. Aunt Ji. Just get used to Han Qian. Sooner or later, something will happen to you. Come on, don't get tired of it. I do. Ji Jing resisted in a small voice, but still went to find Yan Qingqing. Han Qian returned to the general department with a bag of cold milk tea. Yao Shui stood up first to pick a cup and asked in a low voice. Qianer, I heard that you were taken away by people from the Yamanmen? What happened? Tell me. Han Qian smiled shyly. In the evening, 302, we 2 sisters talked all night long. Okay, go buy 2 boxes of Durex. If you don't use them all, I'll kill you. Xia, please forgive me. I've been suffering from severe back pain recently. Joking with a girl, if the other party is a poetry type, Han Qian can't make trouble. Joking with a young woman is tantamount to courting death. Han Qian distributed cold drinks to everyone. This stuff is not cheap, costing more than 10 yuan a cup. Qianwan narrowed her eyes and said with a smile. Hey, brother. Did you get your iron rooster in the frying pan and pluck its feathers today? Go away, do you want to drink? Drink, drink, drink. I have to drink what you bought. I have to give face to my brother, right? Brother? My aunt asked me to tell you to calm down a little recently. She called me just now and said don't worry too much. She will help. You deal with some things, don't go, don't go, don't go, and there's another thing, your parents seem to be coming to the city tomorrow. What the hell? Han Qian exclaimed, gave Fang Shanshan the cold drink in his hand, and then ran outside. At this time, his parents came over to join in the fun, so they took out their mobile phones and called the old man. Old man, are you coming to the city tomorrow? Why don't you tell me? Are you the father? Why should I report to you when I'm going? Is this little brat rebelling against Tiangang? Your Aunt Qian and your mother talked about something, he. The coffin prepared for you is almost ready for use. What? What did Qian Ling say to my mother? I didn't say anything. I just said that you are not very honest in the city and have a lot of peach blossoms around you. I discovered it when you came back last time. There are so many people that I don't have the nerve to deal with you. Get ready tomorrow and let us have a chat. I'm on a business trip tomorrow. Han Qian hung up the phone directly, and then called Qian Ling. Auntie, what did you say to my mother? My old man wants to come to the city and beat me to death. Qian Ling said doubtfully. I didn't say anything. I just invited them to come to the city to stay for a few days. It's over, my father deceived me. What's wrong? It's okay, Aunt. I'm on a business trip tomorrow. Tell me when my mother comes home. They may not go back. After hanging up the phone, Han Qian held his hands on the wall and his legs were a little weak. The old man will come tomorrow. He may really die. While Han Qian was holding onto the wall and thinking about countermeasures, Yang Lan and Ji Jing came holding hands. Looking at Han Qian's appearance, Yang Lan tilted his head and asked. Han Qian, what's wrong with you? Han Qian turned his head and looked sad, lamenting. My parents are here. Yang Lan nodded slightly. I know. Auntie called Jing Jing just now. Mr. Yan also knows about it? What? Didn't uncle and aunt tell you? Han Qian closed his eyes and shook his head. No, Sister Yang, do you know what it means for the devil to enter the village? After he finished speaking, Yang Lan pinched his face and scolded him softly. Bad boy, how can anyone say that about uncle and aunt? After getting off work in the evening, Nuan drove to Honor to pick up Han Qian. As soon as Han Qian got in the car, Nuan squinted his eyes and said with happiness on his face. Mom is here tomorrow. I will take a break tomorrow to accompany my mother. You can go wherever you want. Little Han Qian, I am going to file a complaint. Han Qian slapped his forehead, feeling powerless. How come everyone knows this except his son?